Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
Welcome to Drinkin' Bros, kids. Another fun one today. As you'll notice, my partner, D'Anthony Holloway, is not here with me today. Odd story here, just a tiny bit of house cleaning before we get to our guest at the top. When we were in the airport coming back from the Kentucky Derby gig, Dan had spotted that military guy, dressed up with the mask on and the illegal immigrants and all that shit, and had taken photos of the manila envelopes of where they were sending these children that had just come across the border. That picture that he posted went viral, and actually Alex Jones called him to go in and do InfoWars today. So when we come back next week, he'll be able to chat about that. And we sent Joel with him to do some photography and talk about it. So he is actually on Alex Jones today. So it'll just be Papa Bear. It'll just be Papa Bear today. And we got Bobby Sausalito in the house. How are you, Bobby?
Fantastic. Glad to be here.
Where are you? You've got a lot of screens up. It seems like you're working undercover on something.
I am in the command center. I'm in South Florida, and I just have more monitors than I know what to do with.
God damn it, dude. Before you said it, just looking at your background, because that's been a fun game throughout this whole Zoom bullshit, is looking at people's background. As soon as I saw that white tile, I was like, I guarantee you that motherfucker's in Florida somewhere.
Certainly. I think those were laid back in the 50s, I believe.
Yes, all of the houses still have them back there. We're at in Florida yet?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, you're in Fort Lauderdale? Shit.
Yeah.
We will literally be there in like 10 days.
Oh, really nice. What for?
Yeah. Before we went on air, we were talking about the Logan Paul Mayweather fight. The best route in to that stadium, and you can attest to this, is Fort Lauderdale. I made the mistake of staying in South Beach for the national championship in January. Was unaware you had to go over the bridge, and that new stadium was that north of Miami.
Yep.
My God, man, the traffic down there is fucking insane. All I thought to myself was, next time I come here, I'm going to stay in Fort Lauderdale and just kind of jaunt down.
Yeah, exactly. And Hard Rock Stadium as well, where the Dolphins play, is closer to Fort Lauderdale than it is to Miami as well.
Yes, and that's where they're fighting. They're fighting.
Fighting at the. Oh, I thought they were fighting at the casino.
No. How crazy is that? It is at Hard Rock Stadium, bro.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Where the national championship was, where the Miami Dolphins play, is where a YouTuber is going to fight Floyd Mayweather. So we'll be in your backyard here in about 10 days. Yeah.
That's open air too.
Mm-hmm.
That's an open air stadium. That's gonna be a time to be had.
I wonder what the weather's going to be like. I mean, look, we're starting to head into the brutal months down in Miami. June 6th. What am I looking at? 93 at night?
I don't know that it would be that bad at night. I would say definitely in the 80s for sure. Probably like 83, 85.
Man, I'm a sweater. I'm Sweaty Betty, this guy right here, dude. I might have to bandana up. The beauty of that is usually you get dressed up for a fight, but you get dressed up for a Logan Paul fight. Probably not. I could just roll around in a bandana and a cowboy hat all night.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When I moved to Florida, I realized that all of my clothes from the Northeast are no longer applicable here. Like every shirt that I have is completely thin. Like you could blow air right through it, and it has to be that way. You could wear a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and flip-flops to that fight, and you would be like pretty accurate to what most people will probably be.
Yeah, I feel like it would be on brand for sure. Speaking of which, where did you live in the Northeast? I'm going to guess New York. Your name is Bobby Sausalito, for Christ's sake.
I actually lived in Connecticut, where all the true Guidos live, but I did find myself in New York a lot more than Boston.
Where in Connecticut? This will tell me a lot.
I grew up in Southbury, Connecticut, small town in central Connecticut near New Haven.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I know where that's at. If you would have said Greenwich, I would have been like, all right, cool, Bobby.
No. I wou't have this grit if I grew up in.
I was gonna say, Bobby. There's no fucking
one
way.
Monitor.
Yeah. Yeah, if you grew up in Greenwich, dude, your chances are your parents did something great in life, and then you're living off of that the rest of your life.
Yeah. When I first got here, people were like, "So, do you have salmon polo shorts and what is it? Boat shoes.
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
Have and you have a sailboat. And
Some
I was like,
Sperry's.
nah. I'm from Central Connecticut. No sailboats for me.
Yeah, South Central Connecticut. I would just say that, South Central, and then ... Connecticut after that.
Yeah, yeah.
With Bobby Sausalito, you're obviously Italian, right?
Yes, sir.
Was there any chance that you changed that name? Because it sounds like where the Sopranos would meet up of like, hey, meet me at Bobby Sausalito's place.
Yeah, it does have that. It does have that twang to it. It's also a type of cookie, which is nice.
Oh, is it really?
And a city in California. Yeah, Sausalito, California. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Shit. I lived in California for a long time. I didn't know anything outside of LA. I was a fucking terrible human out there, probably. I didn't even bother with the rest of it. I was just like, all right, cool. I'm here. I got to make as much money as I can. Then I'm going to try to get the fuck out of here, which is exactly what happened.
Where are you guys based now?
Austin, Texas right now.
Nice. Okay.
Look, all of us are here. Rogan, all those guys. And it's a blast. I love it. I love Austin, Texas. It is a beautiful city. They definitely did not have to twist my arm to move here. I'm amped about it. You have an interesting story because you didn't have really that many Instagram followers. And then all of a sudden, your videos started raking in like 60,000 views for political opinions. Yep. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I was. I mean, it was like I always thought it would be a slow climb. I never really thought it would blow up as quickly as it did. But considering that I'm an internet person, you would have thought that that is possible. It's like we've seen so many different characters kind of blow up overnight, but I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like you didn't think that would happen to you. It's like someone getting murdered. It's like you don't think that your friend would get murdered, and that's a kind of a weird example, but
no, it's fine. I was buddies with Casey Anthony, and I was shocked. Totally kidding. She's down in your area, by the way.
Yeah, I went out with her.
Yeah, but with it, like that was one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show today. Some of the questions we get the most into our inbox of like, all right, how do I become internet famous? How do I make videos go viral? A lot of stuff for advertising too, because our co-host owns Black Rifle Coffee. Or how do you have a huge podcast? Or how do I sell a book or a script or anything like that? I always say the same thing. Like, dude, a social media following helps, and if you don't have one these days, you're kind of fucked. With you. You're one of the very few people who has just put up videos without that big of a social media following, and then boom, they took off. How did you do it? If you could explain that to the audience, or was there any rhyme or reason to it?
There really wasn't. I've been an internet person for many years. I'm an internet entrepreneur. I was a web developer. I did online marketing and everything in between. Strategically, I felt like I knew how to do it, but I was never able to do it. And I was like, oh, well, I know how to do it for other people's material, but I could never figure out how to do it for myself. The thing that worked, and if I had to answer that question in a concise way, it would be just be completely and wholly authentically you and not afraid of anyone liking it or giving a fuck. And I was just making a video because I was just like, this shit is laughable. And I just wanted to vent exactly what was on my mind, and that was it. There was no intention. I didn't think that it would do anything. I thought it was funny, but I never really thought that it was, I didn't think I was producing a product. I was just like, yo, I was like, these politicians are out of their mind. Like, is anybody else seeing this? This shit's crazy. And I just posted it, not really thinking of it as like a deliverable. This is exactly what was on my mind. It's what I would have said if one of my buddies was here listening to me over a beer, and that was it. And I think that that's kind of the key, is that you can't game the system. It's almost like you can't strategize your way through. You just have to be wholly and authentically you, not hold back and not try to fit into any box. It's just got to be yourself, like blah. And then it just seemed to work that way.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because that's how I feel about podcasts, right? We have, 10.3 or whatever million listeners on this show. Ross Patterson Revolution's got like 3.8 or whatever it is throughout the course of a month and all that stuff. And I don't have any Instagram followers. So like people ask, like, how do you have that many podcast listeners and not that many Instagram followers? I think I've had the exact same number of Instagram followers for like 6 months. And it's, I post shit, but there is no rhyme or reason to it. You're right. Now podcasts, same thing. I didn't have a social media following. Some of my co-hosts did, but it was more or less like hey, just be authentic. Let's just be us. And then hopefully it takes off. And it did. And that's, I think people are disappointed when I give them that exact same advice that you're giving right now. But there really is no way to explain it. I've seen people try to buy their way into it. Look, we all have friends who've bought like Instagram followers and all this other shit. But the problem is you can tell by their engagement when you look at somebody who's got like 1 million followers and then they have 200 likes on a post, chances are that was probably bought. Or they put up a video and it's like, 300 views. And you're like, man, you bought that shit. That number looks great behind the scenes, but you can totally tell and nobody's commenting on your shit. If you want people to comment on it and like it, you've got to be authentic and make a product like you're doing.
Yeah, I think that the lesson is that you kind of can only hit in a couple of areas really well. And the way to do that is to build natively for that environment. I build with the intention of it working on Instagram, which is why Instagram hits for me. Facebook translates a little bit because a video is a video, so it still works there, but not to the same degree. In addition to that, a short 2 to 3 minute video kills on Instagram, whereas a 9 to 12 minute video kills on Facebook. And then neither of them really work as well on YouTube because it's all vertical. So it's like, in order for anything to really succeed, you have to build natively for that platform, and you kind of have to like eat, sleep, and breathe it. And the thing about the podcast platform is that doesn't necessarily translate to video all the time. Unless you are producing videos specifically with the intention of them being Instagram shareable, it's not going to pick up and not grow steam. Unless you're thinking about specifically growing the Instagram as opposed to just posting things there. That's why I feel like it wouldn't really catch. If you were just like, all right, here's a good 2-minute clippable for Instagram. I'm going to engage, I'm going to go live, I'm going to be in that ecosystem. That is when it really grows.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough too, because then the content sometimes you're putting out, the people that are running big tech might not like.
Correct.
I don't know if you ran into that with politics, but we certainly have on our channel. I mean, our YouTube, this has been a source of contention for us for 2 years. We have a ton of shows on there. We post more long form, go live, have more celebrities on our fucking channel than 99% of people. And we're at like we're stuck at like 82,000 subscribers. Now I know when we had Alex Jones on for election night, they cut the feed and you could see the fucking subscribers go down and all that other shit, right? As soon as it was over. And it felt like you were in some sort of jail. I wish we could go behind the scenes and see it. But it doesn't matter for us because audio is our bread and butter. And everybody's doing the audio thing, but I don't even know how to push people to that. People just kind of found it. And I think you're right. If you're trying, you should probably focus on one of these things versus all of these things. Because if you're trying to get famous at the same time on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all that other shit, it's either the same content or so much content that is literally your full-time job. And then there's still no guarantee that any of those are going to hit for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's kind of like in life. It's almost like you can only be really, really good at one thing. And it doesn't mean that you only do one thing. It just means that that's the thing that you're known for. So I think that the social platforms are in a lot of ways a reflection of real life, where it's just like whatever you eat, sleep, and breathe, if you dedicate and pour all your time into that, that's where you'll win. If I'm over here trying to win on Facebook, win on YouTube, win on Instagram in their own unique ways, like there's only 24 hours in a day. And I think that strategy has been something I paid a lot of attention to, where it's like, I could probably make a podcast, but at the same time, you guys are going to do a podcast way better than me because you eat, sleep, and breathe podcast. You're getting the guests, you know, the methods, you know, the strategy. For me, it's just, I'm just recording a podcast. So it's like, you can really only be great and at a specialized thing. And then once you reach a certain level, you can kind of start to fan out, but you're still only going to be known as that one thing. So I think that that's something really important to pay attention to, because whatever you really focus on is what grows.
Yeah. And you know, we chatted about this last week. And again, this is part of the reason we wanted to have you on this week to talk about all this stuff is with the podcast. I mentioned last week that we were, there was a podcast that fucked us over, Narcos, actually the real Narcos. It was based on that Netflix series. They used, we cut a trailer for them and shopped it, got them ads, all that shit. And then they took around and flipped that trailer and were trying to shop a better deal after we found out about it.
Wow.
Yeah, we had this, there's this tracing thing inside of the trailers where you plant this thing, you just see where it goes. And it's typically for advertisers. You just want to make sure they're listening to it and not just passing on things without listening to the audio trailer. But in this instance, it was going outside of where we had sent it to the advertisers. And we were like, wait a minute. Oh, okay. I get what you're doing here. And then, subsequently people were following up of like, hey, I'd like to do a show on the network and everything else. And what I've always told people in the podcast space is this. There is no guarantee whether or not your show is going to be a hit. However, if you do these things to start it, and then come back later after 40 or 50 episodes, first of all, see if you like it. See if you like podcasting. I love to do it every day, and I love to come in. It has never been a chore for 6 years or 7 years, how long I've been doing this. And we're on every single day, and I'm on multiple shows every single day. I love it. I never get to talk to fucking interesting people like this in real life, and it's a fucking dream come true because you can pick nuggets off of all these people and make yourself better and help grow other shit more successfully. But you got to do it consistently. Pick a drop date, pick a time. You cannot miss. If your show comes out at Tuesday at 8 o'clock, it has got to come out at Tuesday at 8 o'clock every single week for the rest of your life. Otherwise, there is 800,000 podcasts to choose from. People are going to go and find something else or that is something similar or somebody who's doing it a little better, and that's going to be it for you. And then come back after that. First of all, see if you like it. Second of all, see if you have some sort of following and people dig what you're doing, and then you can monetize it from that. With the Instagram and all that other shit, I have no idea what to tell people. I really don't. Like, it's such a fucking mystery to me. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, I don't know what to tell people. I used to say make the most interesting videos, like content-wise. And then my Facebook page, I think I only have like 23 or 25,000 followers, something like that. Something stupidly low. I have 19 million views off of like sketch videos that have gone viral. I think I know two of them are over like 8 million views. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck, bro? How did that not translate and gain more followers or subscribers and anything like that? Once I stopped thinking about it and concentrated on just podcasts and everything else, now I just don't fucking care whatever my Facebook numbers are or Instagram or whatever. I'll just hear it from publicists where it's like, man, your social media numbers are disappointing. Really disappointing. Yeah. Twitter was another beast. Twitter I took off, and I had somewhere in the 300,000 to 400,000 follower thing. But then the election hit in 2016, and then subsequently I just lost followers like over and over. I don't know if it was Twitter taking them away or like friends who figured out of like, oh shit, he voted for Trump. What the fuck, bro? I don't know. But now it's down to like 50,000, and I'm just like, all right, sweet, man. I don't really give a shit. For you personally, since you did take off on Instagram, is that where all your focus is going now?
Yeah, it's where I spend the majority of my time. And I believe that is ultimately the place that I would consider to be home base. And I create everything with the intention of it being native Instagram first. That's where I personally spend the most time. But I do like watching videos on YouTube so I can listen at the gym or listen while they're like to long form videos while I'm riding my bike or whatever else. But Facebook is great too, because it's like Facebook, you can watch just like YouTube. You can minimize the window and just kind of listen to it in the background or whatever else. So, but I still always create natively with Instagram being like the normal priority. Got it.
And what's the eventual dream for you? Because everybody's got a dream with one of these social media outlets, right? The hardest one to me is businesses. Like, I don't know how to make a business cool. Like business ads or fucking viral, videos. I'll get hit by all the time by like business. Oh man, I want to grow my business and have these crazy ads and everything else. And I was like, dude, it's very hard to make a business cool. Black Rifle Coffee did a fantastic job of it. Yeah. And that's why they exploded. But that is super rare. That is a 1 in a million case. What is your end all be all dream? Is it to have a business or to be a massive comedian and book out gigs around the country?
I think that, to be honest with you, I haven't been too concerned with what it specifically will look like. I just know that I'm advancing in a direction that something will make obvious sense to me as I continue to progress. Really, if I had to summarize it into a single sentence, I would just like to be a thought leader, really first and foremost, even more so than a comedian per se. Mm-hmm. Like really the intention of all this was to deliver purpose and have purpose. even beyond just making people laugh, but really doing something that can actually change the way that people think about things and change the way that they act in the world, and then have them enjoying that experience along the way. When I was in high school, I used to watch The Daily Show, and I loved The Daily Show because—
Which one? Who is the host? Who is your guy?
Jon Stewart.
Okay, great.
So I love Jon Stewart, and I thought Jon Stewart was funny, and I thought it was like, deliver me information that I can use to make assessments of the real world, but make it funny so it's enjoyable. So I feel like I'm getting in my comedy, I'm getting my enjoyment and entertainment, but I'm also leaving with something to go and research and something to go look into. Unfortunately, his political ideology is quite a bit different than mine, but I didn't realize that until later. But that method of delivering something that has real purpose and is actual news with something that's funny and entertaining was always something that intrigued me. So I didn't have this dream of like, I'm going to do comedy shows all over the world. It's just, I originally thought I would be a motivational speaker, interestingly enough. And
no shit.
And I kind of realized it's just like, motivation is a lot of rah-rah, and that's great. And I'd love for that to be part of it. But I don't know that I could wake up every day and just be like, go get it, guys. Like, go seize the day.
I know. I feel the same way. Whenever I see that shit of like, you know, hashtag rise and grind or hashtag grindfather, and they're at Starbucks and all that shit, I'm like, dude, I can't do it. And most of these fucking people on Instagram who are these motivational guys or gals out there,
yep,
it's just a train wreck in their personal life. And it's like, my God, I wish I could just do a full show on that, of just going down the list of every like Instagram influencer who's a motivational person and be like, here's why you should definitely never follow their advice, because they're terrible humans. There's a few that I like in real life, like Derek White is like, he lives that life. He's rad. And there's a few of them, but most of them, I'd say 95% of them, if you got to spend some time with them at their house and see what horrific human beings they were, it would not inspire you at all. It might inspire you to fucking Epstein yourself, but yeah. It's crazy. So I understand that, because when you have to get up every day and then fake this fucking life that you're not really that interested in, it's fucking weird, right?
Well, the thing is that we have to be what we already do. And that's the thing, is like, I would wake up in the morning and I love business and I love making things happen and making money and changing my lifestyle and being more free and selling things. But I also found myself watching Comedy Central and find myself watching stand-up and going to concerts and loving music and just socializing with people, and then finding somebody that maybe needs a little advice and giving them the best take that I can so that they leave with value. I was just like this mixture of all these things where I'm like, I don't fit into this silo all the way through. I'm not just funny. I'm not just business. I'm not just motivation. I'm a combination of all these things. And the misconception that I believe that I had was that I have to be one. And if I'm not one, then I don't see anybody that does all these things. Who's the motivational business person that also is a comedian? It's like, that's a hard thing to find. So
yeah,
what I didn't realize is that maybe that means that could be me. And it actually just happened because I was being fully authentically myself, and it just so happened to play out like that. We can't fight who we are. And that's the thing that I think ultimately works on any social platform, and really just in life in general. People can feel when this is authentically, bullshit. And I think that that's the stuff that really rises to the top. And the marketplace, the people have a really great job of sifting through all of the fakeness, even if you have 1%, and finding the guy that just hits at 100 and doesn't and never wavers from their authentic self. And I think that over time that will pay many, many dividends in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's important for everybody out there is it is okay to pivot from your dreams. Dreams can change along the way. Just because you have this one thing set in your mind, if you don't accomplish that, it's not the end of your life, and it's not the end of your journey in this fucking life. For me personally, going out to LA was always Saturday Night Live, right? It was always Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Live. I didn't get that, my fucking life would be over and I would never have a job and I would be miserable, right? Well, then as that went along, SNL, I finally got the no from them. I auditioned for like 3 or 4 years. I finally got the no from them in like 2008 or 2009. I forget where it was. I know I was shooting a film and my parents were in town, and I got the call from my agent and I was at dinner with them. And I was like, fuck. And it finally sank in that, because once they say no, that's it, right? You can't go back and they're all done. And I was like, man, I was so disappointed. My parents were sitting across from me and at this restaurant after they were on set for the movie and all that stuff. And they were like, why do you care? Like, you're literally shooting a movie that you wrote, you're starring in, you produced it, all that other stuff. Like, why isn't that better than SNL? And that was the only thing that, like, the only time that was ever worded like that to me, where I was just like, oh. And they were just asking, because they're not Hollywood people at all. Like, they're from Ohio and Georgia, respectively. And like, dude, they're not like that at all. So they were just asking a genuine question. When I thought about it, I was like, you're right. Yes, this is amazing. What the fuck do I care about this for? And then dreams can change. And then to me, SNL went downhill. And like, dude, I wouldn't take SNL if they called me today, because they can't. I can't do what I'm doing every single day, and I can't say what I'm going to say every single day. Whereas for you, so I was okay pivoting, out of that dream. For you, I'm sure when you were watching The Daily Show, you probably wanted to be Jon Stewart, right?
Yeah.
Now,
in a way, for sure. It's so interesting. It's like the universe just has this way of giving us exactly what we need to get at just the right time. And it's just so interesting how all of those things play out. And it's always like when you look backwards, you're just like, thank God I didn't get that thing that I thought that I needed to get, or that I wanted to get so desperately, because this is so much better than that. It's just so interesting how that happens. And as my life has progressed, I've just realized to like embrace the failures and embrace when you hit a wall and go, well, then that must not have been right. It must be something different. And I'm constantly finding better and better things. And it's just like, kind of like just letting go and letting it flow to you has just changed, I think, all of our lives. And I think a lot of people that have reached some degree of success can kind of vouch for that.
Well, it's weird. Like, The Daily Show is a perfect example to me, where that show right now is getting with Trevor Noah, is getting under 50,000 views a night.
What?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
No, but that's no surprise. This dude is not funny, like objectively not funny at all.
Yeah, the wildest part about it is because everybody keeps hitting me up and they're like, why is he still doing the show out of a hoodie in his closet? And I was like, they can't afford a production staff anymore. So
really?
Yes, that is it. So they're doing it out of their house.
Wow.
They physically cannot afford it, and that is the only way they're keeping that show on the air. I guess not a lot of people know it, but I do. But Here you are. You're not the most famous guy in the world.
Certainly not.
I'm so much better looking than you. No, I'm kidding. But you're getting 60,000 views on an Instagram, one post. You're outdrawing The Daily Show on a nightly basis off of Instagram posts, and you don't even have as many followers as like a Trevor Noah or somebody like that. That is what's bizarre about this, where it's just like, all right, shit, you could be on The Daily Show, but you're going to get more views on your own Instagram. And that's why you should never be afraid to pivot from the dream, because you don't know what the dream is until you actually get it. And then you might not be that happy once you're there. Yep. Let's say the SNL thing had come true for me, right? You stay on that for 4 or 5 seasons. Comedy died kind of in like 2015 when Trump was running. And this is my opinion. Well, shit, they just stopped making comedy films in general. Like, unless it was like Jumanji or like a Kevin Hart thing, which is great. I love Kevin Hart. But it's nothing edgy like I wanted to do on the come up out there. And if that would have happened, then what? What? I guess what would I have done after that? It's strange. It's weird to think back and go through all of it when you were just so disappointed at some point in your life over something. But yeah, it's crazy.
It's interesting you say that, because a few people, I do live streams all the time as just kind of a way of giving more of myself to the audience. And people ask me, they're just like, oh, like, do you want to get on a TV show, or do you want to get on a whatever? And I'm like, this is the show. Like, this is the best show.
Yeah.
Like, I'm chilling at my house, like with my dog laying here, and I'm yelling into my phone and talking into my camera, meeting really cool people, going out and interacting with people in real life. This is the show. It's like, this is better than a show. No one's chirping at me. Nobody tells me what to do. I just do whatever I want. And like, yes, I could take some payday if I was to join X, Y, or Z show, and I'm certainly not against it. But it's like, that's not the goal. This is the goal. Like, I'm living the goal right now, and all I want to see is progress. And as long as I'm progressing, to me, it's just like, the win is daily. The win is, it's a foregone conclusion. This is the win. It's just like, what else do I need? Yeah, certainly I wish I had a private jet, and certainly I wish I had a yacht. But if those things are right, they will come and they will become visible in due time. But in the meantime, it's like, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm living my life. I mean, what else could I really want? And again, it's like, that type of shit shines through in the content that you make, in the way that you feel. And if you're ever giving someone advice or guidance, like they can pick up on that. I think our human ability to have a bullshit detector is very sharp no matter what age you are. And I think that people can see that and feel that. And that's why the good stuff always rises to the top in exactly the way that it needs to.
Yeah, and you always got to be on the lookout for whatever the latest, greatest thing is or the new thing is, and then try to keep up with the times and stay current and all that other shit. Me personally, I read, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 newspapers every morning, even though I still call them newspapers. Obviously, they're fucking websites now, but from all walks of life. I mean, even though, I'll read the New York Times and Wall Street Journal and all that other shit. And I'll always, it is endless content of material for podcasts and all that other stuff every day. But it's also staying current, so that way you're not in a conversation, especially in like podcasts or whatever else, or writing, where you're writing something that is like, oh man, that's super dated. That was like a 1999 reference or something like that. Yeah. Little things like that can help. I know you made a video about crypto, because this is where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Did you get in on it early?
Yeah. So, well, I don't know. Well, I guess you could say early. I bought shares of Ethereum when they were trading like in the $100-something range, and I bought some Bitcoin when it was trading in the like $7,000-8,000 range about then.
Oh,
so
shit.
I don't know how early it was, but as I started to learn more about it, I just kept feeling hesitancy where I was like, there's absolutely no way to objectively measure what the real value of Bitcoin is, other than logging on to BTC price or CoinDesk or whatever and seeing the price for the day and just like holding your dick and hoping it goes up. And I realized that there was no substantive value. The value was just who was the greater fool that was willing to buy it at whatever time. And I'm like, what do I do if I just get stuck with these Bitcoins? What makes it goes up? It's just people buying it. And I was like, this really has no value. If I buy stock in a company like Facebook or Verizon or whatever else, it's like, I see users, I see user growth, I see revenue, I see profits, I see cash on hand, I see intellectual property, I see a CEO that I believe is driving the bus in the right direction. It's like, I see real money. And then I see the market cap of that business. I see how much it was to sell for if they sold all their buildings and all their trucks and all their material and all their IP. And I can quantify that. And I think that it's easier for people to see that value, much like you would see the value of a house. It's like, oh, there's 5 other houses with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in this neighborhood. You have comparables. Whereas with crypto, it's like, what is it? It could be nothing. It could be something. And I just didn't like the anxiety of not knowing how to objectively measure when it goes up or down. Something like Ethereum that has a platform that you could build other things on. Sure, I could see great value in that. But it troubles me to know that at any moment, the Federal Reserve Bank, the banks of the world, the largest economies of the world, the federal government could just be like, this is illegal. It's being used for X, Y, Z. It's gone. And it's just for those reasons and a variety of others. I'm just like, I just don't want to play here. I want to buy businesses, real businesses, and invest in those.
Did you sell all your crypto then and go into stocks and real businesses?
Yeah. So I sold all my Bitcoin, sold all my Ethereum and all my Litecoin, and just got out completely. I made a little bit of money, a couple $1,000s, and I just bought US based stocks and some Canadian stocks. And I started investing in my business. I buy cash flowing websites. So I buy and invest in websites that generate cash flow. And to me, it's a far greater investment than any crypto ever was.
Well, you can control it at least. I understand what you're saying with the crypto, because like China just proved that, of like, hey, we're going to shut down the fucking Bitcoin, go and fuck off. And then the market crashes. It is, I will say, hopeful that, credit cards and PayPal and all that other stuff are accepting Bitcoin. One of our biggest sponsors on our sports show is mybookie.com. Promo code Drinkin Bros will double your deposit, but they take crypto as well. Which, all right, cool, man. You could translate that into real money and all that other stuff. But you're right. I don't know what causes it to go up and down every day. Whereas the stock market, yes, I can see, Amazon's quarterly reports. I know, and they'll jump on a call. Everybody who's a stockholder has access to it, and then you'll be like, hey guys, we made $1.2 billion this quarter, and we're projected to make $2 billion next quarter. I understand that. We had a guy on the show a couple weeks ago who was talking about real estate. He goes, look, If you look back in the history of our country, it was all built on real estate money. You know, the market can crash here and there. Crypto is a whole nother beast that's brand new, but he's like real estate. If you start owning property, land, all that other shit, the value of that can go up dramatically. I think the biggest gains I've made personally in my life off of investments were real estate, to be honest with you. You same with you as well?
Yeah, I mean, I bought my house here in Fort Lauderdale in 2012 for 120 grand, right near downtown, and it probably is clocking in somewhere in the high threes, maybe almost 400 grand now. So it's like quadrupled almost in about 8 years, and I haven't actualized those gains, but I have a huge home equity line of credit at a very small amount. I refinanced one time and pulled cash out, and it let me invest in another business. So it has been the best monetary instrument and long-term investment. Not every house is going to quadruple, but this is only 8 years of time.
Yeah.
And so the crazy thing about real estate is you can use real estate to buy more real estate. Also, it cash flows. Also, it has objective value. I'm living in here. It's like, it's allowing me to live. It's allowing me to protect my life. I mean, with cryptocurrency, it's like, it's not, you can't do anything with it. And I don't mean to put all cryptocurrency in a box, but I think specifically Bitcoin will go down in history as probably like one of the greatest scams like of all time. And I think that 20 years from now, 100 years from now, they'll be like, remember Bitcoin? Remember when Bitcoin was trading at 60 clams a coin? Like, what was that? So I think that over the way that I always looked at it is like, when I was 18 years old, I took some mushrooms on my kayak and I was like, I'm going to figure out the meaning of life. And I just remember thinking to myself, if I do something at 18 and just never stop till I die, it will absolutely work. And I was like, what can I do? And I was like, I'm going to be an internet entrepreneur, no matter what form that takes. I know the internet's going to go like this till I die. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to master the internet. I'm not going to worry about trucks and in-person businesses and brick and mortar. I'm just going to be the internet guy. And I just realized early on, like, if I was to just put $500 every couple months into some stocks and just hold them through the duration of my life, I'll have millions of dollars. There's no way you could tell me otherwise. The rule of 7 and a variety of other things, it's like the United States market is never going to be down 30 years from now. I just can't imagine that to be possible. And I think real estate in a lot of ways is the same way. So I was like, let me just throw 500 at this. And even though I'm not making 250,000% like you may have made in Bitcoin, it's pretty fair to say that I will have considerably more money in 30 years than I have now. It's almost like a guarantee.
Yeah, you personally, that is. Yeah, because I mean, look, the problem is you read all these articles where you've got all these crypto billionaires and all this other stuff, and it's great. If you were to get in at the right time and got out at the right time, yes, congratulations. You were a billionaire or a millionaire or whatever it is, but you probably have the same shot at going down to the fucking corner store and buying a lottery ticket. To be honest with you, because there's not that many of them on. We actually had one of the guys on here who did it, but he did it off of GameStop, which is where I want to go next with you here. Like, do you pay attention to any of these meme stocks? Like, dude, AMC, we did. I held on to it. Fucking diamond hands. There's a goddamn trophy of me over there. We got it at 5. It's right now trading around 20, and it's simply from Reddit these last few days because I guess there's another short squeeze going on. I actually thought movie theaters are coming back, so I mean, shit. I looked at the numbers for like Fast and Furious overseas this week, and I was like, God damn it. I mean, I understand why John Cena is apologizing in Chinese. I'm kidding, I don't, but I think theaters will be back, and people are excited to go outside and do shit and everything else. Do you look for Reddit? Do you go to any of these fucking Twitter handles and look, at these guys like Wall Street Bets and all that stuff?
No, I actually don't. And this is why I in business over a decade of time, I realized that prioritizing my time was extremely crucial. And I also kind of follow the idea of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, which is that 20% of your efforts create 80% of your results. So I try to look at all the things that I do on a daily basis, and I'm like, I can't spend mental energy on something that's not going to give me a higher result. So when it comes to stocks, I don't even really think about my stocks. I pick a company. It takes me a couple weeks to figure it out. I invest in something that I know, like, and trust. I buy, never sell. So when I buy stocks, I have a good position in Facebook. I have a good position in Verizon. I have a good position in Shopify, PayPal. companies that I use on a daily basis that I know, like, and trust. And I don't let the winds of change or whatever's hot today persuade me. And I don't look for tips. I don't think of it that way. To me, I think of it as just a higher yielding savings account, because I'm never going to sell, or I'm not going to sell for a really long time. And I literally try to focus on how much of my day, where my mental energy is going to. Because if it's fragmented anyway and I'm chasing one thing or on Wall Street bets or whatever, what I'm not doing is growing the Bobby Sausalito brand. I'm not thinking about my next video. I'm not thinking about what podcast I can get on. I'm not thinking about perfecting my main thing, my main breadwinner. And any distraction from that, to me, is kind of like a lower value mental operation. And I really think a lot about what happens in my brain throughout the day and how much. And I've realized that, like, even if you just think about something for 20 minutes, if you could be thinking about something that's more valuable, you should eliminate that thing completely. Like, I don't wash the car. I don't clean the house. I have a maid. Sometimes I won't even think about food to get. I'll just order food, have it delivered to the house on Uber Eats, so that I can stay focused on the game. Because whatever you focus on ultimately grows, and that's where you win. So I try not to chase anything other than what I believe will give me the greatest benefit. And I almost kind of eliminate everything else. So I don't chase those things. Although I could see how everybody could find great value there. It's just not something that I do.
Yeah, because I mean, I joke about it all the time now. I feel like everybody's flipping through their phone, looking at either their Coinbase account or whatever meme stock it is, just watching it as it constantly goes, and it'll drive you fucking insane, man. I mean, you'll be a stressed out piece of shit everywhere you go, not focused on anything you're doing because you're worried about, a dime or 10 cents or whatever these fucking things are going up. I believe in that as well, where it's just like, all right, I put the money away. I'll keep an eye on it, once a month or twice a month or whatever it is. And that if something fucks up, one of my producers will tell me about it, Yeah. And be like, hey, man, there was a plane that crashed. Get out of American.
Well, the thing is like, that's what I was doing. I was like on it every day. It's like, I don't know. It's like when you break up with like an ex-girlfriend, it's like you constantly are like, is she with another guy? You're obsessed, and it's a problem. And the thing about when I buy stocks, I buy the stock and it's like, I'm good. It's like, I know that it will do well. And I know that I think I heard Warren Buffett say at one time, he was like, you don't sell a business in one day. You don't sell a business next week. You shop the right buyer. You have an unhurried sense of time. You sell when the time is right. You're patient. He's like, the value of a farm doesn't go up and down by 10% every single day. It only goes up and down 10% every single day if you have to sell it in 5 minutes. He's like, if you invest in a business that you know is going to grow, that you know has value, that you trust the operators and you generally trust the direction and the market that it's in, you understand its competitors, maybe you use it and you like it, so you're touching it often. He's like, you're always going to do fine in the long term, because the market will continue to expand. And if you buy companies that you know, like, and trust and that you use, it's like, you don't have to stress. I look at my stocks in the morning, sometimes at the end of the day, 2 times a day for 5 seconds, sometimes not at all. And I'm just like, dope. And over time, it always ends up doing well.
Yeah. Well, what's a terrible investment that somebody can make?
A terrible investment somebody could make?
Yeah. Is there anything you tell your buddies and things like that where you're just like, don't do that. That's fucked up.
Well, Bitcoin. No, I would say,
it's tough to say Bitcoin when it just keeps, going back up, even with the fucking China shit where it yo-yoed down. It went right back up again. And you're like, all right, well, shit. How much money do people make off of that? Went
That's
from
fine.
30,000 to 40,000, in a string of a week. And you're like, well,
yeah,
more millionaires off of that shit. It's hard to say that. Like, I have a hard time saying that to people.
I agree. I would say if I had to pick something that wasn't crypto, because I'm sure a lot of people would be mad that I'm even saying that, I would say any multi-level marketing program is something that I probably would not advise anybody.
Oh, yeah. Like CBD and door-to-door shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and people will be like, oh, there's a lot of people that made a lot of money in multi-level marketing, and I get that. But I generally feel like, again, it's like things take time. And if you're taking time away from wherever you have the magic, wherever you have the advantage, anything that's for short-term cash or not in your breadbasket of things that you love to do, I think you'd make far more in the long term paying attention to things that play to your magic and to your advantage. If you're doing a multi-level marketing and you don't eat, sleep, and breathe, whatever that is, to me, it's a distraction from your true purpose. And the thing that's going to ultimately have the most upside is you being authentically you. People do things specifically for money as opposed to doing it for the purpose plus money. And I think that that's a distraction that a lot of people fall into, that I'll admit, even I did in my early 20s. It was like, this is what I have to do in order to make money, as opposed to focusing on the thing that was my true magic and where I had the advantage. And I think that the upside from that is so much greater. It's like when you first started making podcasts, it probably didn't make a penny. And you're just like, but I love doing this. This is something that I would feel like if I went to work. You saw it go from 1 penny to $1 to $10, and you're like, it's still not there, but I see the progress and I'm loving it. This is where I could win. I'm just going to keep doing it. And eventually it'll pay far more dividends than any short-term, not your magic thing would have been, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, for me, I was already successful in other areas. So, and I was still doing all of that shit, like writing and directing and starring in movies and all that other stuff. So the podcasting was fun, and it was just like, all right, great. But then I found myself enjoying it more than being on the phone with agents and managers all day long and all that other shit. And then I almost got lucky in that sense, where I was just like, oh, well, this started to monetize right around the same time that I started to get fed up with everybody and I wanted them dead. So,
universe.
It happened. But those multi-level fucking Ponzi scheme thing. Yes, you're right. And dude, there was women in with like my wife, for example. They'd try to get her to do these fucking things, and I'm like, she didn't give a fuck. And she's hilarious, but she would always listen and be like, great. One was like a CBD, one was like makeup or skincare or something else and whatever. And like, out of all of those people that hit her up like over the years in like neighborhoods and shit, I only knew one that was successful, and they were at the top of the pyramid scheme. Like,
exactly.
Everybody else was doing the shit, and I was like, all right, cool. But you're 100% right. And then you'll see their Facebook posts where it's like, oh man, look at the new car I'm driving, courtesy of X, and you're like, man, they didn't give you that fucking car.
Right.
Omaze, by the way, this is super off topic, and we're talking about it. You ever seen a fucking Omaze winner on these goddamn Facebook posts?
No,
I've never met one person in real life who was driving that 1968 Scout and they had $80,000 in cash. I've never seen a fucking Omaze winner. Look, don't come after me. Just tell me where I can find the winners. That's all. And I want to know who they are. I've never had a friend do it. We've entered a couple times as a joke to see like, holy shit, we actually won the Omaze thing on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that shit's real.
That's the thing, is like, it's hard to understand what is real anymore. And that's the other thing too, is it's another lesson where it's just like, figure out what you can do and that you can control and that you can put your heart and soul into and focus on that. Everything else is just noise. And like, even those things, it's like lottery ticket. It always blows my mind when somebody will pull up in a beater ass car and buy a $5 lottery ticket. I'm like, my guy, you could be buying, like, you could save that for 10 days, buy a share of Uber, and over the next decade, that Uber share will multiply 3-4x. And that's just 1 week of you buying lottery ticket. It's like you're your own worst enemy. We waste so much time looking for money that when we do what we are naturally intended to do, the money kind of finds us.
But Bobby, if you put the 5 in and you get to $200 million, then your life is changed. So
often those people die. They commit suicide, they get murdered. It's like the track record of people that win the lottery it's not a high level of great success.
Oof, no, it's not. I've watched that doc with the fucking lottery winners. It is so depressing where you're just like, Jesus Christ, man. What happens to you? What happened? Yeah. I saw one time in real life where they had bought a house on the beach in like my parents' neighborhood. And they were known as like the lottery house, like, oh, that's the people who win the lottery. They're there. They're there and they won the lottery. But they didn't even know what to do with the fucking money, man. It was just a bunch of weird shit out there in their driveway and like weird like white trash parties and shit. And they were living in this nice neighborhood. And I was like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
And then like 4 years later, I think they moved out. I don't know where they went, man. I don't know if the money was gone or what happened to them, but yeah.
Well, if that's the thing, that's another problem too, where it's just like, I love when motivational people will say something along the lines of like, what is success when you try to visualize it? Because oftentimes it really isn't money based. It's like, when I think about success, I try to think, how would my life be different than it is right now if I had $1 billion? And I'm just like, honestly, it wouldn't be that much different. Instead of me ordering Uber Eats that's made by a chef at a restaurant down the street, the chef would be in the crib. Instead of my house being 975 square feet, yeah, maybe it would be 20,000 square feet. Maybe I'd fly on a private jet, but I'd still be going to the same place. And it's just like, it's like I'm young, healthy, having fun and enjoying it. It's like, isn't this the $1 billion? Because I would bet you that somebody that's 20 years older than me that had $1 billion would trade the billion for the youth, for the happiness, for the whatever it is that they are missing. So it's just like the money is not always the goal, even though it's an instrument of freedom. But it's just like, I wish that more of us would realize that we are already rich and that we're so rich in life. It's like that book, The Alchemist, if you ever had a chance to read it.
Yeah.
It's like The Alchemist is just like, all the riches are right under the tree that you're sitting under right now. This great journey ultimately leads you back to realizing that this is the game. And like this journey is the fun. This is the wealth. And it's like, if we can just look at time like that and look at our lives like that, I think there's so much more substance to each day. And that's how to be successful. It's like, be happy all the time and just be making progress.
Yeah, money can definitely help happiness, though, for sure. But you're right. I remember, as a kid, like I was like, you have those weird dreams where you're like, I want to live in a castle. Yeah. Dan and I did this gig where we were staying in this fucking castle in like Kansas City. I know it's a weird place to have a castle, but it was like a genuine castle, right? And it had said like Camelot on it. I know that place was like 15,000 square feet, and the woman who walked us through this castle, after an hour, we still hadn't seen like one of the floors in it, Yeah. And I was like, I finally just stopped, and because I was, there was people downstairs, there was a dinner party and all this other stuff, and I go, I'm cool to go back down. I go, what do you do with that floor that we didn't even go to? And she goes, I don't even know if I've been there in like 2 or 3 years. And I was like, I just me being me, I just go, why do this then? Why own it? She goes, I'm trying to sell it. She goes, it was fun when I had a house full of kids and all that other shit, but now it's not, and I don't know what the fuck to do with my life. Yeah. Now's the point in the show we get to the Drinkin' Bro of the Week, which is someone who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Who would you like to give the Drinkin' Bro of the Week to?
Somebody who's inspired me, or what was the second part?
Or helped you become the person you are today.
I want to say Barbara Corcoran, not a bro, but
really? Yeah, from Shark Tank.
Yeah, Barbara Corcoran. I think that she is just a really awesome person that kind of like forged her own path through adversity and had that like unwavering sense of self. And I've read her book, and she talks about how she would be the only woman in a big group of guy real estate agents or real estate brokers. And it was the boys club. And she would walk in there with like a yellow dress or whatever the case. And she would be like, oh my God, I'm afraid. And then she'd think to herself, I belong here. Like, I deserve this. I earned this position and I belong here. And years later, she outpaced many of those guys and built a $6 billion some odd dollar brokerage, one of the largest real estate brokerages in New York City.
Yeah, she's got a fucking empire. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, I love that unwavering sense of self and just never quit attitude. So I would say Barbara Corcoran.
Strange, but I love it. I love it. Bobby, tell everybody where they can find you at on social media and all of the things.
At Take Naps on Instagram. You can find me at bobbysauce.com. All my links are on bobbysauce.com. Take Naps on Instagram, Bobby Sausalito on Facebook and on YouTube.
Awesome, man. Well, look, it was a pleasure having you today. Doing shows like this from time to time are important. And we get these questions all the time to our inbox. And I was like, hey, man, we're just going to have guests on and then chat about it. That way, hopefully, if you're at home and you've got a business or you're thinking about doing something in one of these fields or investing for your future, that you took some little nugget away from this. Bobby, we appreciate your time today. Go follow Bobby Sausalito. For Bobby, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros podcast. Good night, everyone.